So, and this is a timely topic for things like this. I mean, it's an awful time for the IT things that are happening over there. But after everything is finished, if we follow what CISA says, is that it'll probably have been a phishing attack at the beginning of that ransomware attack, right? And so that's what we're talking about, passwordless MFA. Okay? And hopefully the title doesn't seem a little flippant, but it really is true. Users love passwordless MFA. We all experience it, right? We don't type in their digits anymore. We use other methods. And yet, at work, we still have to type in 12-digit passwords, uppercase, lowercase, special character, and then we have to go put in 4 more characters or 6 more characters right after that, right? And so we inflict that on ourselves in spite of the fact that it's not 1960 anymore, right? So the first thing that we need to talk about is what is wrong with passwords, right? I mean, I told them, complex, don't reuse it, right? Don't click that. You know, we told them all of these things. And the thing is there's nothing wrong with passwords, right? Secrets are an integral part of all business, right? But that's the wrong question to ask. The right question to ask is, what's wrong with password management, right? And the answer to that is everything. Everything that we do is wrong with password management. Specifically, why is that, right? It's because of this. The user creates the password. It foundationally starts in the wrong place, right? And there was a time when we needed to do that because there was no alternatives, right? But users hate this. I hate creating passwords. I hate having to remember passwords. And that second time that I fumbled it, not like I'm in panic mode. Oh gosh, if I do it one more time, I'm going to get locked out, right? And then I got to call, help me. Right? So that's the fundamental problem with this thing that the most important security and access element that as IT people that we do for our employees, right? Because it's the #1 attack vector, right? And it's the thing that every single one of our employees experience. And as I said, ransomware is always preceded by phishing and user exploits, right? So when we talk about the experience, and we all know this, right? And so because user passwords are such a problem, what do? We added another step to it, right? We call it MFA, right? So not only did we say, you got to do the password management, but now you got to do this other thing on top of it and just make it a little bit more complicated, right? Just piss me off just a little bit more, why don't you, right? Right? And we all know this because we do this every day ourselves too. We inflict this on ourselves as well. And the studies that we've done is that users don't like it, right? There's no surprise here, right? People just bear through it, but they just don't like it. And part of it is because they know the alternative experience, right? We all remember the bad old days of iPhone 5 when we had to key in our finger in our 6-digit numbers over and over again every time the screen timed out, right? And we don't have to do that anymore. All right, so what's the big deal? Right? Is it a big deal that we have maintained ourselves inside of this password infrastructure, added additional layers on top of it? What's the big deal? Well, here's the big deal. 82% of all security incidents are started through password exploits. So you can slash the attack surface if you're able to get rid of the root cause, right? Rather than patching the core problem that we're dealing with, let's just get rid of it completely. Okay? Then the other thing is according to BBC, people spend 22 minutes per day logging in all of the apps and whatnot that they do. So there's a productivity gain to be able to be had, especially for those of you that work in a little bit larger company. Multiply that by 1,000 people. How much is that? Well, we can do the math this way. In 2021, full-time equivalency for a US worker, the average full-time equivalency was 80,000 something, that's including healthcare and everything, which is like $43 and blah, 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 right? So 22 minutes, about $20 per day, right? All right, so the other portion of it is that these things that we've instituted, the MFA, it's not working, right? We increase the adoption of MFA through the businesses, and yet the attackers are increasing the number of phishing sites and the man in the middle, like Evil Gen X and all the rest of the man in the middle attack types of things that are out there. It's all commoditized. It's not working. It's probably the bigger problem here, and we're ignoring this core problem, right? All right. So what are we talking about, right? In authentication, it's what you know, what you have, and what you are, right? And so we become so dependent on this idea of what you know for local, remote, and privileged accesses, and yet we have these things and variety of ways of being able to do things that we can reduce or eliminate the password portion of it, what you know, in favor of much, much stronger things such as what I have, and even more important is what I am, right? Because I can't share what I am. Even if it was intentional, I can't share what I am, right? So what are these things, right? So push, phone, everybody's got one in their pocket, right? Especially if like your education, every student has one of these things, right? The other thing is FIDO2 keys. This is the future of identity, right? FIDO2 is the future. There's no question about it. It's already stamped in. Now it's just a matter of time for it to catch up and mature, which it still has a lot of maturing to do. And then even like your smart card that are your ID badges that have near-field communication inside of it, this one has a biometric on it so that you can use the fingerprints on all three of these. Right? So there's many, many ways to be able to do this. So we think about what's possible, right? So we think about all the use cases that we have inside of your business, your enterprise, your institution, right? Is you probably have some sort of a mandate that you have to follow. And so one of the most commonly that almost most companies fall under because they touch the government in some fashion or another is like NIST 800-171, right? And in it, it says that you must desktop local MFA, meaning desktop MFA for all privileged accesses, MFA for all remote accesses, and then all those privileged portion of it, and you must centralize all remote access portion of it. And so we go through here and we try to see, can we actually accomplish passwordless MFA today? And the answer is yes, you can, okay? And those other things that we talked about of why is it a big deal is that not only are you slashing the attack surface by eliminating the attacker's ability to exploit password and phish users, you're also creating productivity gains that ends up paying for the technology in itself. And what I hear from all IT leaders is, gosh, especially when vendors come in, right? They've got a $5 million problem to solve your $250,000 budget, right? And so these are one of the things that are like the most affordable ways to be able to make a huge impact on users because they'll be delighted. And for yourself by eliminating things like help desk, password rotation, and really ability to modernize your infrastructure. So anyway, these are some of the use cases associated with it. Now, one of the problems that people run into when we get into this passwordless MFA discussion is, I don't know why, especially for IT, we're like, oh, change, no change, you know? But one thing they do understand is they see, yeah, let's get those users out of passwords. Those damn users, right? Let's get them out of passwords. That makes a lot of sense. Get them out of password management, right? And then immediately they turn around, look at their infrastructure, and they go, whoa. That thing is dependent on passwords all over the place. I don't even know all the dependencies that exist inside of my infrastructure that are around passwords, right? Is that true? Anybody? Right? So here's the thing. The way that passwordless MFA technology is really, it has a roots inside of cryptography, right? Of public-private key binding elements inside of it, right? But not all passwordless MFA technology require you to change your infrastructure. Okay, and so those use cases that I showed you inside of what the Octopus portion of it is that when your infrastructure is ready to accept FIDO2 keys as an example, we give the app and the infrastructure the key pair matching challenges. If you're not ready, then we proxy the password so that you don't change the infrastructure. Okay, so that we let you eliminate the security risk. Now you've isolated the user from the infrastructure so that you can start to modernize the infrastructure from there. Okay? And so that's what we have to try to get to, is to separate the idea of passwordless from passwordless MFA for the user. Infrastructure is move it towards passwordless. Okay? And that's really the objective, and the things that you can realize if it's important. Is it important to eliminate the attacker's ability to exploit passwords or phish users? Probably, right? Probably. I think everybody would agree with that. Anyway, so now we want to talk about, okay, so we said users love it. There's no question about it. I have inside this company, I don't know what my password is. And I do all my authentication off of push for myself, right? And the first thing of why you would want to do this is, now IT owns secrets. Right? That is a big deal. You just took the user out of password management. They don't create passwords. The whole password management dysfunction cycle is over at that point, because the exposed portion of it isn't there. Number two, you make your people more productive. And so we have these ROI calculators that show that you can get an 8x productivity gain over what the expenses are associated with being able to do this, just offer the time savings for the users, as well as eliminating help desk calls and all of the other IT things. So these are a value proposition that you can bring to your business about, hey, I've got a solution to a problem that we can make money on. All right. So the calculator goes into these types of things as far as the productivity side of your user portion of it, and then the IT, things like that. Then we talked about security, right? Slash the attack surface. That's why we buy cyber insurance, right? It's because we need to lower our risk. Well, if you take your attack surface and take 82% of it out and force the attackers to only go after vulnerability attacks, which are hard, right? Because you got a code for that, or go after supply chain, that is a big reduction in risk, right? And on top of it, if you follow the M2209 presidential mandate for zero trust and phishing resistant MFA, it's coming. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to get out of passwords no matter what. Right? So you could slash the attack surface. What else? Compliance. That's the next thing. Right? Just go ahead and check the box. Right? As far as getting the coverage portion of the privileged users, of how they do desktop MFA and all of these other kinds of things like that. Right? And that's here where we talk about M2209, the zero trust mandate, and it only called out multi-factor authentication, and then later on it talks about the phishing resistance portion of it, and that's coming all the way down to, we know the next version of NIST 800-171 is going to have phishing resistance inside of it. There's no question about that, right? And so we're going to have to make these kind of changes. And once again, what CISA says is 90% of all successful data breaches start with phishing, right? And that's why we have to get rid of these things, because it's just too toxic for us, right? And that's really where the phishing resistance portion of it comes in, right? And the strategies that you have to associate it with that is, one, is providing some adaptive techniques, right? Like verify push, but more important than that is, once you get the cryptographic binding elements associated with it, you stop the beginning of the phishing attack, because the things that are not bound, meaning the phishing website, can't access that because it doesn't have the private key in the TPM vault of that particular computer. Right? We should be able to do that using FIDO2 tokens, which is the traditional way, as well as being able to use mobile push for those use cases where people are too cheap that they don't want to spend the $25 per user for the FIDO2 key, right? And And mobile is a much more convenient way to be able to do that. Right. And then the last portion of it that I think is really critical to understand is once you separate yourself, your infrastructure from the user, what all organizations find is that they can move much faster. All IT organizations find they can move much faster. Simple thing is like, what, some of the organizations have, if you're like PCI, you have a rotation requirement. Even though NIST says 50Cs don't rotate passwords, everybody rotates passwords, right? Because it's a stupid policy that they've written. And so now you just push a button. Secrets are rotated because the user, it's not orchestrated with them. And so you get to move a lot faster and innovate faster. So that's where we have a demos and stuff like that set up. Come on over if you want to know a little bit more about this passwordless MFA. Everybody thinks like, it's change, right? But the thing is we all know how to do this now. Everybody knows how to do this stuff. And it's something that it's actually an easy way to be able to introduce these kind of innovations in order to really make an impact on your security. And I think City of Dallas, they should have moved faster, right? Unfortunately. All right then. Thank you very much.